Okay, welcome back everyone.
Part 2. Woo!
So some of you have part 1, which was Torah Gimel, quickly. Last Torah was very short. It was about the...
Can you remind about Yeshua, sending names as well?
So welcome back everyone. We're live in Efrat. It's a little noisier because it's after Tisha B'Av, so the Kollel is here. We're here all at the same time. It's a packed house. Thank God. So every week, we teach, learn the Zera Shimshon, and we're trying to a continuous, always opportunities in Zera Shimshon process that we can have, that anyone who learns his Torah will see his Shuot and see great things. Anyone who wants to sponsor and anyone who continues to support the learning of the Zera Shimshon will see great things. Personally, I've seen some amazing things already from my own side. Anyone who needs a refuah, Yeshua should see it, the Zera Shimshon. Also, by the way, just to let everyone know, less than a month, this is your site. This is was his your site. So this should, well, I just want anyone to know, so that I'm sure that the Kollel will be doing something big that night, but the Dr. should also take part of it as well.
Usually they make a dinner in Yerushalayim.
Yeah, big halula. We're going to announce it on our platforms, the halula of the Zera Shimshon, and it will be invite only, but we will have an online live feed, please God, and also lots of videos. And this Motzi Shabbos we have one of the highlights, Kel Male Rachamim from I think Chazan Benjamin Health Gods. We'll be singing, we'll put it up on all our platforms, so share it on. It's a highlight from last year's, but it's just an insight how amazing this is.
Okay, so now, in this week's Parshat we have something beautiful. It's always right after Tisha B'Av we have Parshat Vetchanan, which is called Shabbat Vetchanan. And in this week's Parshat this is always the Shabbat after Tisha B'Av we read Vetchanan, and in the Vetchanan has the Aseret HaDibrot. But we also know, when did we read Aseret HaDibrot previously? When did we read it? What Parsha? Yitro. Very good. So, but there's a few things, there are a few differences between the Parsha of Yitro and differences and additions. It depends on where you look. So I'm going to ask, this will be a little bit more interactive. And I'm not going to ask the guy who reads the lanes to do it, but I want someone to read.
Yay! Bal Koire.
So I'm going to ask.
That's my bar mitzvah parsha, so I know it pretty well. No, Vetchanan. My birthday was on Monday. So it was 27 years ago. But Monday was my birthday.
Okay, so read the pasuk in Yitro. The fifth one of the Asrot B'Yadam Hashem, the Makom. The fifth one, the last one, is called Kabir, right? Honor your father and your mother, so that you can give you a long day, a long life. That's what it says, right? On the land that I give you. That's what it says. Right? Now, go here. So that will be good for you. That's different. Right? Upon the land of Hashem, which is similar to what we said, your God gives you. Most of the pasuk is the same. But there's a few differences in the pasuk. There are many differences in all of the Aseret HaDibrot. But the Zera Shimshon is going to focus on this difference between the Kabed HaTavich HaVetimecha and the Kabed HaVetimecha in Yitro. But that's number 10, number 9. So it says, as we just read, it says Kabed HaTavich, right? So comma, in Perik Baba comma, Perik Hey. It says here. Sha'al Rabbi Chanina ben Agil Rabbi Chia Bar Abba. Rabbi Chanina ben Agil asked the question. It says, Michnei bat ma b'dibrot harishonim ba ma b'antol. So it says, why in the first? Yeah. Do you want your own copy? Okay. Is that one? This is the wrong one. Hold on. I might have taken it with it. Oh, yeah? Okay. So it says like this. So we're doing Torah now. So it says, why do we have to, why is Rabbi Chanina ben Agil, Rabbi Chanina bar Abba? Okay, so Rabbi Chanina bar Abba, Rabbi Chanina bar Abba said, why did he brought the first report, why in the first set of Luchot, in neutral, Lo Ne'emar Ben Tov? Why does it not say the word Tov? Like we just said. But he brought Achonim Ne'emar Ben Tov. We just said it here in Parshat Vetchanan, it says the word Tov. Amar Lo Acha Tasho Alani, he said back to him, Rabbi Chia bar Abba says, before you ask me why is good, so he says, Rabbi Chia bar Abba says, before you ask me why is good appear, he says, ask me whether, he says, first ask me if it's mentioned again or not. Sheni Yodea, I don't know. Ela Kalech Etzel Rabbi Tanchum. He says, go ask Rabbi Tanchum. So there's an obvious question right around the back. So how did that Rav not know what was in the other pasuk? Right? Like, it's not like we're talking about where we can't find out where Moed is appears in Eicha, right? Like we don't know the truth. These guys are pretty serious, right? So he says, Amar lo ho'il b'sofam mishtaber. B'sofam mishtaber, my habit. Chas v'shalom paskat tovam ha'olam. So he says here. So he says maybe the good was omitted in the first case because they were going to get broken anyways. So he says, well, if that's the case, if they were going to get broken anyways, why does good appear in the second case? Right? It's a good question. That's what Gemara asks. So the Gemara is that's the Torah of the Gemara. The Gemara first has a story back and forth, which is very weird, between two rabbis. One rabbi says, I don't know if it appears or not, and if it does appear, I'm not sure why it does. Go ask someone else. That doesn't sound like an answer. That sounds like a modern day 21st century answer. Like I don't know, go check it up on Google or something like that. Right? But doesn't make sense. Right, exactly. Doesn't make sense to say that. And he says, even if it did say that it doesn't appear, he says, you know what? I have an answer for you. The answer is they were going to break anyway, so we didn't want to appear good. That's not an answer. Then why are we putting in the second one? We have questions on both directions. So the Zera Shimshon asked two questions. He says, Amar is a Tamua. Deich Nesachka Vachim Amar and talking about the people of Torah and what we have. He says, some questions.
The rabbi is here.
So he says, how could it be that the first question, how could it be that how could it be that the Tov is not saying? So he says, how could it be so he asked the question already. He says, does this Rav not know like what it says? Like does the Rav never learn that Sarah to do Rav and you can't compare? The Zera Shimshon is asking the same question. Like, come on, Rabbi, you're supposed to know. You're the guy that knows, not me. So he says, right? Like, couldn't you just go and get a sefer? Couldn't you just get a chumash and check it out? Like, what are we asking here? Like, it's not really a good answer, right?
It's still good. It's still good on the camera.
Baruch Hashem.
So much lichtigkeit from the Torah.
Okay.
In the meantime, I'm looking up what it actually says in the Gemara.
Okay. So it says here. So it says, right. So he says, why focus on the Tov that does appear in the first set, right? In the second, it should be where it does not appear. Like what he's saying is, the question here doesn't seem adrabah. And so he says here, he's saying is that this whole back and forth seems very uncertain about what's going on here. So the Zera Shimshon is bothered by this whole Gemara. He's bothered by the Gemara in a variety of ways. What he's basically saying is that something's not right here with this Gemara. There's got to be something bigger and greater than just saying is that the rabbi didn't know, so he's going to ask someone, and therefore, or he says, go check it out yourself. Something's not right. He says, all right, so he's saying this, and if they were really, if good was mentioned, he says here, if Rabbi Chanina had asked why good is mentioned in the latter one, right, then he says, then Rabbi Talmud did not address his question. For the fact that the first thing will be shattered does not explain why good appears in the second section. So then he says here like this, he says that it's true that if you look at the Rif, his commentary to Ein Yaakov, it says that there's a different version of the Gemara. The whiskey talking, or it's warm.
It's hot.
Okay, I don't know what it is.
I'm melting.
The air conditioner's not doing it.
Yeah, I think I have to turn it back.
Yeah, maybe turn it on.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's not like it because the power outage.
It's just a bit lame. It's the fire from the base of Migdash. It's still burning.
Right, okay. You're feeling the heat of the Beit HaMikdash. Okay, so he says here. You feel it?
I can definitely do it.
Oh, okay. All right. We should just could lift it up and change the flip. I'm not going to. Okay. So he says here like this. He says that maybe the arguments or the Girsah that we have is not right. He's quoting that the Rif in his Perush says that maybe there's something, maybe there's a different comparison to Girsah, and he says that the Girsah that says is because before you ask me why good is not mentioned, unlike what we have in our Girsah, which he says is which basically says why it is mentioned. In the other Girsah, it says why is it not mentioned. So okay, so that's not bad. Okay. All right. So then it's basically we have a question. The Zera Shimshon is valued by a very simple question. He says that this whole Gemara, even with the whole Gemara makes very little sense, and there's something wrong with what's going on here. That there has to be something beyond what we understand of the Gemara. Even though all Gemaras we always never understand everything about it, but this Gemara is too, like they say, smacking your face, obvious that there's not something not right, because it doesn't make sense that a guy who's at the level of Rabbi Chanina would say to him, go check out yourself, or you don't know what it means, what it said over there. It doesn't make sense. Okay, so he says here, so he says here, Rabbi Chanina tarte kamibayla, shaya shol ben al-rishon ben al-achanot. So he says here that we may suggest that Rabbi Chanina actually asked two questions. So he says here, the question is, he found difficulty in both versions. Rabbi Chanina found difficulty in both versions. Both the Rishonot, there was the first set and the second set. And he said, Sharei Adani, because we know, so he said here like this, we know that had Bnei Israel not sinned the golden calf, it says that had we not sinned in the Egel, we would have no Yetzirah, and therefore no nation and no enemy would be able to ever take it over. But because we sinned in the Egel, that's what happened. So it says here, so he says that we will enjoy such beautiful pleasure from the amount of greatness that we will see having not sinned. So what is it? And he says, because he says, so therefore, of course, had we not sinned with the Egel Zahav, we would have benefited and seen such amazing things, including seeing the star of the Olam Hazeh. אם לא שמה, אני יכול להוציא לך מכאן, זה סטי. יש לך שם? אתה רוצה את שלי? יש? מצאת?
Making sure everyone's got books. There's so many people.
There's a lot of, thank God there's about 30 people here. You got to make sure everyone's got.
Follow Zera Shimshon is rocking.
Yes, it is. Okay. So he says, אתה רוצה את שלי? Okay. So he says like this. So he says that had they not said then we would have seen amazing bracha. And he says that we would have seen the we would have seen also in this world. He says, that's why he says, that's why he's questioning. Why does it not say Tov in the first set? Because had it said Tov there, he's asking the question is, we knew what would have happened had they not seen. So had they not seen, it should have said Tov. Because what? At the time of them receiving the Maseret Dibra, they hadn't seen yet, so it should have said Tov. It didn't say Tov there. So he says, maybe even more so, Adrabah, even more so, they should have been merited this car in this world. And then he says, he says, if you say that in the first set it should have said Tov, I can ask you questions in both directions. In the first direction, had they not sinned, it should have said Tov. Why? Because at that moment, there was no reason. At that moment, Tov was still relevant. They hadn't sinned yet. That's the option one. And on the other side, what's on the other side? It says that Yitzhara did come back, meaning after they sinned, then Tov did not appear in any of them. In the first set, I would understand Tov appear there, because at the moment before Egel Azav, they merited to see, they were on the potential to see this amazing level of Star, amazing level of Torah. So they should have said Tov there. If it doesn't say Tov there, then it certainly should have said Tov after the fact. Because once they sin and they lower the level after Egel Azav, then Tov doesn't belong to it. There's questions on both sides of the coin. That's what he's asking. והוא השיב לו שאינו יודע אם נאמר בהם טוב אם לאו, כלומר אינו יודע אם הטוב נצבע בדברות האחרונות לעולם הזה או לעולם הבא. So he's asking that the Zera Shimshon is picking up on the nuances of what the answer was. He's saying is, I know what was said or what isn't said. It's not that. I just don't know whether the supply and whether the tov of the second world is for this world or for the next world. It's not that I don't know if Tov appears or doesn't appear. I just don't know. That's what he's saying here. So in the paragraph of Kedushin, in the first paragraph of Kedushin, the Schar Mitzvot Haya Amalekah. Right? We know that in the first paragraph of Kedushin it says that there's no Zachar for in this world. So there's no Zachar in this world, so you can't say it's for the Zachar in this world. We please your Rabbanan Alei B'Sfir Le'Lizis Zachar Mitzvot Haya Olam. The Stam Mishnah, the Baal B'Kaya K'Rabbanan, it says here, so he's saying is that he's basically saying is that the Chachamim say there that we don't get the real fruit we don't get now. We get a little bit of something now, and later in Olam Haba we get the real fruit. Now we get the carrot. We get something of it now, and the carrot, the principle, is in Olam Haba. What we get now is just like a little bit of the a little bit of the Sachar. Well, we don't really get the real Sachar. And that's what we say also every day. Right? So that's how we get. We understand that it's not a Olam Hazeh. It's nothing to do with Olam Hazeh. There is no Sachar in this world. Right? He's saying is, this is all about an individual. an individual person, he says here, and he says here, with the search Mordecai says, it basically explains the Kusha, that even according to the Chachamim and the Mishnah, there's a fact, a good reward for the mitzvot in this world, and that good, he says there is good in this world. He says there is good in this world, and even according to Rabbi Akiva, he says it's only with that it's individual. Each person gets a little bit of sachar, but as a group, there is no. However, regarding community, he says that he says you must agree as a community that if you were to agree that as a community there is reward from the this world. And if you look at all the different mitzvot that Hashem promises, right? When you're talking about right? At this moment, right? When you say Shema, right? What happens when you observe the mitzvot? You rain on time, right? That's Bahai Amma. That's in this world. I'm giving you the performance mode. I'll give you the rain. You don't perform mitzvot, I'll cut off the rain. So obviously, there is sachar in this world, because otherwise, how would you explain that? So he's saying is that the argument here is that basically, so he says that even when the Jewish nation as a whole are observant to Torah, some rewards are much good in this world. So there's no difference whether the fact is it's this in the latter. Another he's saying is that Tov appears in the later set of Sukkot, because there it's talking about a different kind of good. It's not the same kind of good that we were thinking about. It's not just like good and not good. It's about Zachar and not Zachar. It's a much greater thing. So it says, he says we still have a question on the first. We still have a question on the. We still need an answer for the first question. Why did you take Tov at all at the first time? Right? So he says here, he says that we still didn't answer the first one. Why does God say Tov in the first one? Right? And it says, go check it out yourself. Go ask someone else. Right? That's not an answer. And then he says maybe because they're about to be broken down the line, so they didn't put Tov in because they didn't want to break something that is good. He says, that has taken indication that had they been broken in the first set, since we know that the first set has been broken, someone might come to say as well, and God forbid, if all the goodness in the world would be out of this world, it would be no longer relevant. Right? That's what he's saying. He's saying is, once you decide, put everything in the code, which has been break, the Tov in the first set, which is going to break anyway, then people would say, God forbid, if all the earth is out of this world, if there's no one out of this world, there's no one good in the world. That's not the case. That's not true. He says that it's good, even if it's today, even after the Chacham is broken. And then, the Parshat is the blue. Therefore, it was broke, it was taken out of the source, so that even after they were broken, Hashem says, don't worry, they're still good in this world. That's why it says in the second set, not in the first set. In the first set, we might have said, there's no longer good. And that's why Hashem says, I don't want people to think, like God forbid that there's no good in this world, even after I break the code. So he says, so that's what it says here. That's what it says. So he was the great Alma, right? It says, therefore, it's not about getting the Ben Sibor. It says, it says, both questions are answered. Good is taken out of the first set for a very obvious reason. Therefore, we never say that there's no Sahara in this world or not. It's about the different kind of good that exists. So it says, basically what I'm saying is, and I actually like this one a lot. We have to, the whole Zera Shimshon in this piece is really to understand the fundamental difference of what Tov means. Does Tov mean just good? And therefore we can view everything that says whatever Hashem does is for the good? Or do we say that good has to be something about a Safar Mitzvah or not? But the point here is what the Zera Shimshon is trying to understand is, he says it here, he says that, he says here, right, he says basically that the Kurma was a minister from the first year of the Holtz. He says it's because the first of the was destined to be broken. And since people should never say that there's no more good in this world, therefore he says good has to appear after the second says.
I'll tell you what, Art Scroll's commentary on the Gemara that's quoted here.
Yeah.
Because Art Scroll brings some nice things in. It says, Rav Chia bar Abba's reply seems astonishing. It begs incredulity to suppose that one of the foremost Amoraim was unfamiliar with the wording of a verse in Dvarim, especially in an era when the entire scripture was commonly mastered by schoolchildren. The Rif in Ein Yaakov, so we brought him over here, explains that Rav Chia bar Abba knew precisely what was written in both versions of the Seder Tiburot. He didn't know, however, what was inscribed in each set of tablets that Moshe brought down from Mount Sinai. As is evident from the Gemara's answer below, or Vetchanan bar Avgil's question was based on the presumption that the version written in Shemot was inscribed on the first tablets and the version written in Dvarim was inscribed on the second tablets. So Rav Chia bar Abba responds, this is not necessarily so. Then maybe a certain the Torah wasn't actually inscribed on the Luchot. It's like crazy. Alternatively, Yun Yaakov explains that Rabbi Chia bar Abba was speaking out of humility. He was saying, as it were, why ask me? I don't even know the wording of the verse in the Torah. He's trying to be humble.
Even that's tough to say.
Right, exactly.
Even that's a tough one to say. Yeah, I don't know.
For sure. Beis Haron departs from Rashi in explaining Rav Chanina bar Agil's question. Balaturim notes that the second version of the Ten Commandments, this is cute. Balaturim notes that the second version of the Seder Tiburot is 17 words longer than the first version. 189 instead of 172. And 17 is the Kamachi of Tov. So the difference between the two of them is Tov and Kamachi.
So I was listening to a shir, someone else gave a shir on this Torah, and he was saying is that if you look at the comparison between the two, there are differences. If you look at the words, there's like 20 words or 30 words different between the two. And if you look at the Rotas say on both sides, there's significant differences. Not that I'm not saying there's, I mean, on the it's very short. The second set is very long. It's like he says, and he says that you should not be taking something in the two sides of a paper on a piece of paper, right? And on one side of the paper it's very filled with words, and on the other one you have to like, in order to make it even, you got to stretch out the font. So one would be like a 50 font, and one would be like a 10 font. He says something doesn't make sense, but he says that basically it's not that their service words are more important than all the other mitzvot. It's just like the highlight reel of a good movie. Right? The highlight reel is, this is just to get you interested to learn more. It's not to say that these are the most, we see it on the shul, that I see it to people and like, that's the most important. It's not. It's just a time for us to get interested in what we see.
And he says one other cute thing here.
See you next week, guys. Welcome to Rav Yisrael Zilberberg's Shir in Hebrew, and keep following Charles Sakel Shorts, and check out Kel Malay Rachamim from the Halula last year. We'll be advertising the new Halula.
So he also brings here Maharal. So Maharal says that Tov denotes suitability, something that's appropriate. So if we say that the two things are Tov